Live from Harbor Station, it's the Vector Spaceman Show. Now, here's your host, Vector Spaceman.
Woo! Fantastic! Hello, Space Cadets! How's everybody tonight? It's your old pal, Vector Spaceman. Guess what? We're back at it again. Coming to you live straight from Harbor Station once more, broadcasting on all frequencies to our beautiful planet Earth. Now, whether you're catching us live or just tuning in after the show, don't you know, we're glad to have you on board. Thanks for helping us make outer space the place to be. Tonight, Monday, July 21st, 2025, Spaceman. You're too early, I hear you say. You're a whole day ahead of schedule. Excellent, excellent eye for detail. Space Cadets far more astute than your friendly neighborhood spaceman, that's for sure. Because we forgot that we've got members of the extended Vector Space fam visiting the station this week, which precludes us from doing our usual Tuesday stream tomorrow night. And we're busy Wednesday. And we're busy Friday. And we're busy Saturday. But what are we gonna do? Not stream? That doesn't make any sense. Heck no. We keep it pushing. It's a big day for VTuber news. There's plenty of chat. Plenty of commentary. Plenty of discussion abound at the moment. And we've got special upcoming events to remind everybody of as well, so let's chillax for a bit, shall we? Let's talk about it a bit. Now, if you missed the last show, we had grand, sweeping plans to revisit some old Homestar Runner content, but instead we just chit-chatted the night away, looked at some old community artwork, had a grand old time. As far as I'm concerned, a much better way to spend our time here at Harbor Station. All educated space peoples agree. Listen, cadets, the moment that we return to banal, thoughtless, run-of-the-mill gaming content, I'll be very disappointed in us. I believe in us. I believe that we can do better. How long can we keep the course? I suppose we'll just have to see. But hey, if you want to stay up to date with all of our broadcasts so that you never ever miss a show, then be sure to follow Vector Spaceman on YouTube, on Blue Sky, and of course, right here on Twitch. Bam, just like that. Super Writing Robot, very nice to see you. I hope you're having a fine Monday of all days. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. Your little midday meal. What time zone do you have to be that it's lunchtime already, though? That's either way ahead or way behind. I can't figure it out. It is Monday. Okay, so it is still Monday. That's a clue. That's a helpful context clue. So what are you, in the middle of the freaking, like, right off the West Coast or something like that? One of those funky islands? Maybe you're from Hawaii. Maybe that's it. Me taking a stab at things. Oh, 8 p.m. Okay, so it's actually just a late lunch. All right, so same time zone we got going here. Local time. I was saying, I was so jealous. I wish I could be eating lunch right now. But you know what? Lunch is more of a feeling. It's more of a lifestyle. It's more of a mindset. You could be having lunch any time of the day. Either way, I hope you're having a fine Monday. You guys. Usually dinner at midnight. Okay, so we're just pushing it all forward. Listen, we get up at noon, we have breakfast, we just keep it pushing. We just offset. That's the way to live. You don't have to deal with morning traffic. You don't have to deal with go-getters, early birds, you know, those types, you know what I mean? And then you get to stay up with the cool kids at night, exactly. I feel ya. No shade. But if you're just joining us, if you're just waking up to the news of the day, here's the big one, of course. And it's not something that we usually cover, because it's not somebody that we interact with. We're only tangentially familiar, but it's kind of one of those moments that you can't ignore, sort of thing. Like, we were never a big, like, Gargura fan or anything like that, but we recognize the, the impact of the actor and the sort of end of an era that it was when they left the Hololive group and then went independent. And we're seeing that happen again today with Iron Mouse taken off from the VShojo Corporation over alleged money mishandlings. You hate to see it. You hate to hear it. It calls into question, and not small sums either. It's not like nickel and diamond. We're talking $500,000 in misallocated funds. Serious business. And it calls into question once again, what is the purpose of the VTuber agency as an institution? Love money, hate mishandling? Yeah, why can't we just, have proper handling? Why can't we have mucho handling? You know what? Just let us handle all of it. We'll take care of all the money. All VTubers, you just forward that to the Vector Spaceman show. You can make those checks out to cash, in fact. And we'll keep it nice and safe and tidy, and we're not gonna put it anywhere that it's not supposed to go. And you're gonna say, Spaceman, you're taking a lot of trips down to Niagara Falls lately. What's that about? Spaceman, is this a picture of you running in and out of the casino? And I'm gonna say, proper handling. Don't even worry about it. There is something, I think, to be said of the parasocialism, as they say, between the viewer and streamer relationship. This is something we're familiar with ourselves. It's something we've seen firsthand. It's something that gets under your skin. Similarly, however, I think the agency, the corporation, these sort of entities that have sprung up in the wake of this, it's hard to call it like an industry or a community or this medium would be the best way of describing it. Of, virtual puppetry, as it were. Performative personalities, if you will. It's acting in a certain sense. Which is a shame, because, what are actors if they're not just professional liars when you get down to it, when you really start thinking about it? Hard to trust them at all. But it's also hard to deny that, some of these people have done some real good. Iron Mouse in particular, raising over, I think it was over $4 million to the Immunodeficiency Fund. Money that otherwise, would have never been directed toward charitable organizations like that. But what does the agency do? What does it have to do with this? Groups like, VShojo, or Nijisanji, or Hololive. They are sort of parasitic in nature themselves. We're gonna take a cut that could otherwise have gone, to fruitful purposes or straight to the performer themselves. And you just have to sort of justify that they're bringing enough to the table. And I would not be surprised, and I think it's sort of communicated sometimes, that there's a pressure tactic from some of these groups as well. Be like, oh, you don't want to miss out on this opportunity, that sort of thing. An organization, just by its presence, breeds this sort of air of authenticity sometimes, which it may not necessarily deserve. And Iron Mouse isn't even the first person to split from VShojo lately. I'm pretty sure another big streamer, Zentrea, just took off as well. Within recent memory. I wasn't sure the specifics of that one, and you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we see more people jumping ship in the wake of Iron Mouse's departure. It's another one of those momentous moments, if you will. Hard to ignore, even if you're not engaged with those particular performers, which we're not. But we definitely got to recognize that, you know, that we're all a part of the same, kind of the same medium, if we're going to call it that. I think you don't get to be a fan of the Vector Spaceman show or other friends of the show like the Nova Swarm or Alpine or Corey or Cherry or, you know, the smaller streamers without at least, you know, some understanding of these bigger performers, at least by reputation. Money and performance art. It's just a tricky thing to mix, I think. Not just vis-a-vis VTubing, but any sort of performance art. Music, acting, stage performance even. Definitely heard of most of them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you hear big names. You're like, okay, I don't listen to Maury Calliope's music, but I know of the individual. I never watched any of the Gargura streams, but I was familiar with the character. I couldn't tell you the name of her new character though. Saba something, because I know it's based on another fish. But that's what I mean. You're at least aware of them. You know what I mean? And what happens to Iron Mouse from here? I don't know. Do they retain their character? I presume so, but I'm not 100% sure. Because I think V Shoujos were all independent to begin with. What's good, Meg? How you doing? Sure hope she does. Yeah, I think the way that they worked was they retain rights to their personalities, to their characters. They come in with it and they can leave with it. That was my understanding. I could be wrong, but I think her posting and talking about this as Iron Mouse, I think that sort of states that, yeah, she's got control over the character and the presentation of the character. When you think about it, that would make sense. How's your Monday going, Meg? We're talking big news, big VTuber news. At least, you know, within the broader scopes of VTubing. Not stuff that's directly related to us, but it's worth talking about. Other than the VTuber news, very good. So were you a fan of the Iron Mouse, Meg? I was just talking about, like, we're so aware of these personalities, but we're not super familiar with them. We don't work with these people. We are like 4 or 5 degrees separated from any of these personalities. And that would be a stretch. But you gotta respect what they've done, especially all the charitable work and what have you. Didn't really watch her that much, but I know she's a huge advocate for the Immune Foundation, yes. And does a lot of innovative things. So I was just saying, I'm pretty sure it's over $4 million that she's managed to raise for the Immunodeficiency Fund. Which is insane. Which is outstanding. Like, I think it's rad when, like, Palm will do charity streams for the Princess Margaret Foundation here in Canada, which is a cancer research fund for one of our hospitals. And Palm will raise like $3,000 to $5,000, and we'll be like, "Wow, like way to go! That's awesome." 4 milli though, wild. When's the Vector Space Mouse collab? Hey, that'd be rad. I'd have to get in contact with, somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. I don't think so. I think we're a little ways off from something like that. Fun to imagine, though. Because you can't, I think it's hard to be a hater on some of these individuals. Especially when you start doing, community events and charity work and stuff like that. It's like, all right, we're gonna forgive all the gross corporate stuff that gets involved at that point. Now me, I'm lucky that I can sort of have an opinion like that. Because Vector Spaceman's got a pretty comfortable life, This has always been like, very much like a learning hobby for us. Get to learn how to use new software, do broadcasting, things like that. It was never about the money. Never has been, never will be. In fact, I've even been called pretentious when it comes to how I feel about, monetizing the show. I'd be like, no, we keep it all free. We're not going to charge for anything. This is the way, man. Depends how gross and corporate they are. Lots of people hate someone like Mr. Beast who does charitable stuff just because he's also extremely corporate. Well, that'll sort of get into what I'm going for here, because Mr. Beast will do a video that's rooted in, a charitable act designed to draw attention to the video so that it will attract advertisers who will attempt to manipulate viewers and give the video money, which will then fund more videos. Which is a weird cycle. And it's kind of how I feel about some of the VTuber agencies as well, and I'll get into that. It's like when it comes to like VTuber, a weird gray bubble, exactly. When it comes to like merchandising and like monetizing the VTuber sphere, what is the corporation, what is the agency really bringing to the table? They're organizing. Very few of these places have like in-house artists or anything like that, or artistic staff. It's outsourcing, it's commissioning. And then here's the thing. So if your business model is like, all right, we got to raise money for a new model for the streamer or something like that, or new merch or something, which we're going to then, promote and show off so we can raise more money for the next outfit or the next run of merch. It's like, what are you working toward? If it isn't just a big treadmill. And at that point, the corporation, the entity, the agency, it starts to insist upon itself, on its own existence. It's justifying itself. Keeping those balls in the air, as it were. You're just wringing cash out of whatever audience you have left until people just grow tired of the talent at that point. Gotta hop out of here, back to work. Thanks for the vibes. Keep vibing, robot. I'm gonna keep vibing. I'm gonna keep ranting. I'm gonna keep rambling. You have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for sharing your lunch times with us. Keep rombling, straight rombling. Listen, Spaceman's up on a Monday evening, drinking Ultra Fiesta Mango Monster Zero, all right? We're gonna stay caffeinated and opinionated for a hot minute here. Keep on rombling. Not the monsters. I'm afraid so, Meg. It's one of those nights. Spaceman's got a weird, like, summertime diet. Adios, Robo. Hope we see you again real soon. And that summertime diet tends to be, we'll eat like every couple of days. And we exercise, we party hard, and we're still technically at this jorb. We still got a couple weeks left at the jorb before we're out of there. But all of this leaves us very fatigued. So sometimes we gotta rely on our old friend chemical stimulants just to keep us up and at 'em. Technically it's 30 minutes past my bedtime, but it's my Friday, so wee! Well, thanks for spending it with us, Meg. How do you feel about all this corporate VTuber business? What's the point of it, Meg? What's it worth? Oh, you had 2 interviews for a jorb this week, sending good vibes this way so I can get out of retail hell. We're about to send positive vibes. I'm about to send some big vector vibes in the chat. Bam, there we go. Vibing. Oh, you know what's a good vibe? Some palm emotes. Here we go. That's a vibe. There we go. My opinion is capitalism sucks and ruins everything because money must go up. So brave. So thoughtful. So wise, Meg. That's it. We're rebranding to the Vector Spaceman cyberpunk era. We're taking down these corporations. I think getting into tubing, into virtual tubing for the money, it's a silly thing to do. It's a foolish thing to do, you know? I think we can count maybe 3 people, maybe 3 or 4 people that we know that have actually managed to find some loose, trepidatious stability from their VTubing efforts. And even then, it's not like they're swimming in dough. I mean, corpos can help with the production side of things. I'd be very surprised if many of the... I'll bet you there's only a handful of these agencies that actually employ dedicated in-house artists. I think it's really just a management scheme. It's delegation, which can be very helpful for any streamer, I'm sure. But is it enough to justify 1, let alone 2, let alone 5, let alone 10, let alone more full-time salaries? I guess it really depends. I feel like the bigger ones, you know, Hololive, VShojo, Nijisanji, they're bringing in mad money. Somehow, this is the other thing. Is like, we don't resonate at all with the concepts of like idol brand loyalty and devotion that agencies have sort of built their models around, and I'm not entirely sure if that's just because it's not for me or because it just doesn't translate as well for Western audiences, because that's not how we typically interact with personalities. I don't know. But then there's the money though. And even of the people that we know that have sort of, you know, made an okay, like, go at it with streaming. You know, close friends of the show even. I think that their money-conscious behavior is probably their least likable qualities. Like, it just feels gross sometimes. Does the concept of the sellout exist anymore? I wonder. I think there's definitely a different outlook towards something like that. Where you see a lot of people these days, it's all about, you know, get your bag, get your money up, do what you gotta do. Probably not a positive thing for the future of artistic endeavor. You know, not that everybody has to be the starving artist. And not that everybody has to be so, you know, so full of integrity as to, you know, basically never afford themselves the opportunity to even, you know, produce. Because, you know, we've had patrons of arts for as long as there have been artistes. And people with money to throw around. And we know that, you know, generative art and whatnot and all that is really throwing a wrench into the works, but that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other... In this economy, that's right. You know what used to be cool? You know what used to be really cool? Is that, like, billionaires and the super wealthy, they used to understand that, you know, that they were industrialists and, like, bankers and people engaged in, you know, boring, not altogether exciting professions, and that they still had to interact with the wider humanity. And if they wanted to get some entertainment and some culture, you know, they'd go out and they'd throw some money at it. Not anymore. Now they want a robot that tells them how good they are, that shows them funny pictures, and they don't care that they've, you know, gotten messed up limbs or what have you, because they're not, you know, artistic people to begin with. They've just forgotten that fact, because now there's a button they can push, which will satisfy, you know, their expectations of creativity. Now they hoarding money like Smaug. That's right, they got that dragon sickness. But what is humanity culturally across time and space, if not a people of dragon slayers? You know? Maybe one of these days, they'll come back down to reality. Who knows? Very fine analogy, Meg. Very fine. You know what the other thing is like, nobody that we watch are corporate VTubers. Like, we watch all the independent guys, you know? Independent folks like Palm, like Corey, like Nova Swarm, like Meg, like, you know, all our faves. Alpine Cherry, Buffy, Loot, everybody that we love. Mana, Lydia, Adora, Miki, Maven, Jammy, when Jammy's around. We are all Miss Independent, exactly. But you know why? Because at a certain point, at a certain scale, the aspect of interaction becomes untenable. And that's what seems to be the most novel quality of the VTuber, of the streamer at large. Certainly here on Twitch, as well as over on YouTube. Maybe even, I don't know, are there VTubers on like Kick and stuff like that? I've never even checked. But I presume. And it's the ability to talk back and forth and interact and do cool little redeems every now and then, you know? Like I can spend cadet credits to make Owen Wilson go,
wow.
Wow, just like that. What more could I ask from a streaming platform? But you get too big, you lose that. Now there's no community. Now there's no, you know, recognizable faces in the crowd. You're not just a streamer anymore. You lose that sense of authenticity. As streamers, I could ask you this, Meg, or anybody else chilling in the wings, if you're listening in tonight. As streamers, what do you think you could benefit from most through working with one of these agencies? Perhaps one with a little more, you know, repute than something like VShojo at the moment, but any of these big ones. Maybe even a smaller one. What would you benefit? What would you have to benefit from them to even start to consider like, okay, yeah, you get to take a slice of my, you know, streaming revenue or something like that. A proper setup? Okay, so you just need the tech. You need the equipment, audio help, recording help. So you need some expertise. Kind of also wonder, like, how do you avoid audience fatigue when you're working for a corporation, working for an agency, where the model is, you know, release merch to fund new upgrades or new outfits or something like that so that we can make more merch, and the cycle just continues. Connections are also nice, but my biggest op right now is audio. Audio is pretty important. I haven't checked in a minute, but I think our audio is still semi-decent. You always got to be looking out for these things. I mean, that's half the game. We've got little, you know, head bobbling virtual models, but at the end of the day, it's really more like a radio show than anything else. Corpos are the VTuber Ouroboros? Exactly. You gotta stay one step ahead of it, or you're gonna get swallowed up. And it's always chasing you. You're always trying to get ahead of it. Like, who can you think of that's like the most long-lasting VTuber at the moment? That's maintained the same personality, the same character, and hasn't completely disappeared. Maybe they've fallen off a little bit, but they're still kicking it. They're still pushing it. It's got to be one of those early Hololive types. Howdy, Ghost. How you doing? Happy Monday. We're talking VTuber news. We're reporting the news here. Big news today. Iron Mouse leaves VShojo over incredible money mishandling. $500,000 in misallocated funds, allegedly. It's big news. You can't even ignore it. Like, we don't interact with Iron Mouse. We don't watch her streams. But it's definitely something that has ripples across the whole medium. Hope your day's going better, Ghost. Plus, more she can't talk. I'm sure there's more that she can't talk about. Yeah, it's enough to say, hey, I'm leaving the organization. And we're talking about, you know, what's the sense, what's the use of these organizations to begin with? I know, bots, right? No worries, we got this. Just had to find the right button. They're trying to shut us down with bots. Because we're speaking the truth tonight. There's one every stream. Every stream, man. Come out of the woodwork. Vector Spaceman's taking a pretty hard line stance. Pretty hard line, pretentious, artsy stance on being like, man, money and streaming, they just don't mix. But at the same time, like I've said, we know and we hang around with people that have been lucky enough to, you know, find some minor stability with their broadcasts and what have you. But I've seen people that have fallen into the same sort of trap. We're gonna do, you know, a donathon or something like that. So we can raise money for a new model, so we can sell more merch, so that we can raise money for another model, so that and the whole thing just becomes this gross treadmill. How you doing, Ark? Hope you're having a fine Monday. We're talking the intersection of VTubing and cash money. Vis-a-vis what may turn out to be mass exodus from the V Shoujo agency. It's yet to be seen whether any others are going to jump ship over these allegations of financial misappropriation. Busy heading your way next month for design review meetings with the clients? Heading my way? You coming up to Space Canada? Is that what you mean? That's cool. You gonna see some sights? You gonna take in the big city? Nice, nice. I guess I've never asked or even been, you know, been, what's the word? I've never even had the thought to inquire. Client offices are out away from the city. Ah, that's too bad. No, I was gonna ask, I don't even think we know where you're at, Ark. Are you a Space Canadian as well? Or a Space American, perhaps? For some reason, I thought you would come to visit beforehand. I thought I had heard that story. Middle of the middle, Midwest, mad middle. Straight Midland. Yeah, the city's pretty cool. I actually got a big fat sunburn all over my spacey face. Because I was out adventuring in the city over the weekend. That's what happens when you go back Earthside. The goggles, they do nothing. So anytime I squinch up my face, it's one of those, it gets all tight. Yeah. That'll sort itself out soon, though, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to the next big... Were you out with the crew? I was out with some of the Harbor Station crew, yeah. Always nice. Went to a tasty gelato spot. Then hung out down by the harbor. Not the Harbor Station, but the actual harbor. Missed the poop tunnel, hopefully? No poop tunnel. It's great. We just stay avoiding this area. Did any seagulls try to get our food? No. Actually, sorry. They were eyeing it. They were eyeing it. I am going to say that. There's like this fake beach down by the water. Fake beach is a weird way to put it. Artificial man-made beach down by the water. And we brought some snacks and stuff. And I could definitely tell they were eyeing us. But I'm too good for that. Too slick with it. I've seen that driving through. I was wondering if that was real. It's very real. Will you be living in a van down by the... Yeah, living my best life. So technically it's not a river. Technically it's a lake. Technically, I mean, there are rivers in the city, but they're like covered up, you know, like in London town. No, definitely man-made. I love a good man-made river. It reminds me of, ours reminds me of a smaller version of Odaiba. Odaiba is one of my favorite places in Tokyo. I used to spend a lot of time there, which is an artificial island with its own little artificial beach. And it's got just the loveliest little boardwalk. Actually, you might have seen pictures of like the life-size Gundams in Japan. Usually the pictures you see are on Odaiba, because they got a big Gunpla store there. Not that that's the only reason that I used to go out to the island. I'm just saying, it's a fun coincidence. See, we don't have any full-sized mecha in Space Toronto. Shame. They should really try investing in that sort of cultural icon. But I am really looking forward to the next big local VTuber meetup. That's going to be in, thinking now, that's going to be the end of August for Fan Expo. That'll be fun. It'll be a better tourist draw than the public transit. Yeah, no, the public transit, you just get yelled at and, you know, harassed, and you get anxiety. You get people running out in the middle of the street to catch the streetcars. It's a heck of a place, the big city. But sometimes you gotta go in if you want to see your artsy friends. And we plan to. That'll be August. That'll be fun. Nice way to cap off the summer. Oh, here's a question. Anybody into horse stuff? I feel like we've completely missed the boat on this one. This Uma Musume game that everybody's into at the moment. It's only been like a week or two since it really popped off, I feel like. I just can't get into mobile games, I feel. I don't know what it is about it. I think it comes down to being, like, I feel like I'm being manipulated. Because that's what it is. They always are. English translation just released about 4 weeks ago. Okay, so a little longer than I thought. But any of these games where, you know, you've got unlocks and tiers of, and different, you know, outfits and things like that. It's like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. I remember I played Mario Kart Tour when it first came out. So that was the Mario Kart mobile game. Gamba games, exactly. No, you're 100% right. It's basically gambling. And so what did I do? I was playing Mario Kart Tour like every day. What's good, Eon Omnisci? Nice to see you. Hello, welcome to the Monday stream. You're rare and grabbing food real quick. All right, go grab that food. Get fed. Get nourished. What was I talking about? Mario's Karts. Here's the thing, gameplay was not terrible. But knowing that it was trying to like rob me of my time with like daily chivos and login bonuses and stuff like that, is like, I feel like I'm being finessed, you know? So what did I do? I got my Princess Daisy up to max level, and then it's like, all right, well now what's the point? I don't need a bajillion outfits. I've beat the game effectively. I even dropped Halo after all this time. Just stopped playing during the latest season, and I used to be such a big fan of that. But it's the easiest thing just not to put any time into when you just feel like, all right, this is no longer part of my daily routine. Really, what's the point? So I guess it's good, in a sense, that we don't have like a super addictive personality. You know, we don't gamble. Don't get ourselves hooked on substances or nothing like that. That's a pretty good quality to have, all things considered. Gameplay for horse games, good, but it's extremely expensive for card draws. And that's how they get you, isn't it? They want you to drop some dough, drop some cash money up in there. Still never played the game, but seeing so many people playing it, I may as well have finished it. I guess we should be thankful for that, right? That we live in a time where you can just watch streamers, or you can, you know, watch YouTubers and get the gist, you know? It's that secondhand exposure. It's gameplay through, not osmosis, but through, what's the word? It's living vicariously, gaming vicariously. I've seen more than one streamer drop over $1,000 on pulls. Ugh. Yeah, you got me, Ark. You got me. You got the words. You got the lingo. You got that verbiage. Some people, that's all, like, that's what they're there for, is to drop mad stacks, to drop flash cash, and that's part of their appeal, which is such a weird way to stream, because doesn't that seem like so wasteful? Be like, tune in to watch me drop 10 grand on, and especially the ones that do like actual, like, you know, gambling sites. I don't think you can do that on Twitch anymore, can you? I feel like they do that over on Kick and stuff, or they used to. Maybe they cracked down on it as well. It's like the worst thing, man. Because it's like, that's a real addiction. Gambling. Like alcoholism, like nicotine, like it can incite actual dependency responses. It depends if that's what people want to see, but ugh. Yeah, you can look at it like that, like, yeah, people give me money and I spend it on this because that's what they want to see, and the whole thing keeps rotating, right? It just becomes that wheel. If you want to watch people open magic card packs and you're not spending the money, I've seen people do that as well. And I'll be honest with you, like, here's what we're gonna do. Let me find my favorites, my absolute favorites card opening clip. Take a guess what it might be. It's a classic. We're about to watch it on stream here, you guys. I'm gonna blow it up and we're gonna go over to the big screen so that we can watch it together. Here we go. Black Lotus, that's not a bad guess, Meg. Unfortunately, no. Here it is. Let's go over to the big screen.
God, no! Oh, they're all fucking bent in half. Can I fix them? Oh, they have a permanent crease. Yeah, these are fucked forever. If I try to get, if I get Fat Gay Pikachu and try to grade it, it'd be a 2 because there's a permanent crease. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like permanent crease right where it bended. They're all fucked. Rats, dude. Thank you. All right. Huh. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the front. Good luck. Psychic Energy, Dronerodum, Swoobat, Excadrill, Joltik, Sandal,
now for the payoff.
Seedot, Pick-a-Peck, Mudbray. I already have Careless. God, there's a permanent crease all the way down to end. No! It actually, oh my god, it actually fucking happened! Oh my god! I picked Fat Gay Pikachu! Why? Why did you do this?
That's just good streaming content right there. I can't lie. Guys opening packs. He's gotta donate $15 or whatever to have him bend the pack on the off chance that there's something good in there. He's playing the odds. Justified crash out. I also just love the term Fat Gay Pikachu for the rainbow holofoil one. And you know what? I bet if he tried to get that bad boy graded, it'd be like a 1 or a 2 or whatever, right? But probably worth more than any other version of that card, just because it was part of such a great moment. But what's the worst that can happen in a case like that? Maybe a viewer decides they want to start collecting Pokemon cards or something like that. It's not like, you know, some kids thinking, oh man, I want to be like my favorite streamer so-and-so and start, you know, playing slots. Start running poker hands, you know? On presumably somebody else's credit card. That stuff sucks, man. If I'm honest, like, if I can be an opinionated spaceman for a second, I don't even like that, like, our government, like, controls gambling and stuff like that. Like, why is that a business that your government should be in? One that only exists through the exploitation of the participant. You know, that's the old saying, like, you know, the lottery's just a tax on stupid people, is what they used to say. But you're playing up, you know, susceptibilities, human susceptibilities. That's just such a dirty thing to be involved in, you know? Because taxes, well, yes. Hard to argue with that. Because that's the unfortunate thing, is that, you know, people would gamble regardless. So that's the justification for it, is like, all right, well, what if we, you know, the government will handle it, and that way it's not going to, like, you know, organized crime and stuff like that. The televised poker games did cause a huge spike in poker players. Yeah, that's an easy metric to measure, right? What's harder to measure is, like, you know, how much human suffering comes out of that. How many people lose their savings, their homes, all that sort of thing. It's rough to think about, right? And you think, well, poker especially, it's like, you know, everybody's opting in, so it's just money trading hands. Someone gets richer, someone gets poorer, that kind of thing. Almost a zero-sum sort of transaction. But I don't think, you know, being on a hot streak makes up for, you know, some guy losing all his savings, or having to sell his car, having to sell his house, stuff like that, breaking up his family. You know, not to say that all gambling addicts, you know, are, you know, victims of their own circumstance or whatever. But what an avoidable situation to find yourself in, you know? Not something that ought to be promoted. That's just the opinion of this spaceman. Addictions like that are sad. All addictions are sad, really. But that one certainly is too. This has been Spaceman on his soapbox, pontificating on a Monday night. You know what's funny though? I read today, I saw another post about horse game, that apparently, like, there are people who watch the anime, because there's an anime as well, that are upset that they're kind of getting spoiled because all of the race results, I guess, are based on actual historic derbies. So you're basically already spoiled. It's like watching a historical fiction show. All the winners and losers are already predetermined based on how these horse girls, actual horses, performed in real life. Which I think is kind of cool and kind of funny. Oh, speaking of cool shows though, you guys, I'm never gonna be able to stop hyping these series up. So, like, back in, like, when the heck was it? Like, I think it was 2011. We got Nichijou. And Nichijou was a great adaptation of a manga of the same name. Very slice of life, but very creative in its animation interpretation. By Kyoto Animation. They were the studio who did the adaptation. And they really got to flex in ways you wouldn't expect from a slice of life anime. The same author also wrote another series called City, which is a lot more in the same vein. Even has some of the same characters, little cameos and what have you. City, the animation, just started broadcasting over the past 2 weeks. Loving it. It's great. Can't hype it up enough. If you like Nichijou, definitely check out City, the animation. I was in a VC with some people because they wanted to watch a movie, didn't know it was going to be that anime. Oh, Nichijou? Listen, you can't not love Nichijou. I feel like slices of life series can be hard to get into sometimes, especially like first few episodes. But Nichijou finds its stride. It gets in there. I love the characters. I love the shenanigans. I love the soundtrack as well. Like, we use a lot of the original soundtrack from Nichijou for the skits and specials. Especially, like, it's got a lot of very light instrumentation, like flutes and woodwinds and what have you. And we use a lot of that for, like, Jammy's character. Like, play up that little innocence and what have you. Oh, the Uma Musume anime. Okay, I was talking about a different one entirely. Well, that's a good way to get your first exposure to it as well, I guess. Oh, I missed one of your messages. Your addiction to Helldivers is very healthy. True, because that's an addiction to freedom and democracy. And these are virtues that we espouse here at the Vector Spaceman Show. I'm a pretty big fan of Helldivers as well. In fact, I think we're trying to put together a little collab show, because we haven't played Helldivers in a while. That'll be fun to do. That'll be cool. Some friends of the show together. Ghost, Arc, you guys are involved over on the other channel as well. Has Palm played Helldivers yet? I don't think I've seen her play it yet. I think it's just another one on the big list of things to get around to. Not yet? No, I didn't think so. One of these days, maybe. Not really her style? You don't think so? Palm's got a big list of games that she hasn't played yet. And there's some server. It's either Palm server or organization server or something like that, where she's like listed them off. And I remember seeing that the Halo series was on that list. I was like, Palm, please, if you finally get around to this, let me help out. Let me be involved somehow. That was my jam growing up. That was my hyperfixation. I bought it for her. Izzy and I were supposed to take her on a crash course. See, that would have been cool. Yeah, you don't see her do many shooters, though. All right, we gotta, let's see, we gotta take a wee tiny little break here. Otherwise, Jeff Bezos is gonna pull the plug on us. I still gotta do some shout outs, though, because we've got more fun stuff coming up this week, actually. So we're not gonna be able to do our stream tomorrow, because we've got the Vector Space astronauts coming in from a whole other continent to visit the station. Which is cool to see members of the extended Vector Space fam, but it also means we can't do much streaming. Which is why we're here tonight, you know? But on Wednesday, check this out, we'll do one shout out right off the bat. Friend of the show, Corey Ojo. Is having her birthday stream. Or actually, from tomorrow to the 24th, she's doing birthday streams. But Wednesday, we're going to be part of a call-in event, giving some birthday wishes. You know, Corey's a great example of what we've been talking about tonight. And Palm, since I was just mentioning her as well. But talk about people who have made it all by themselves, without any agency participation. And Corey's done more unique and interesting things within the medium than anyone else I know. With all the live con visits and the like actual rented out concerts and things like that. The baseball stuff, the NASCAR stuff. Corey's killing it, and I can't wait to say so on Wednesday. I think it's like around 8:30 or so that I'll be calling in. Get to say some nice things, get all sentimental. Because Corey was one of the first streamers that we really interacted with when we got started as well. You know what is cool is that basically everyone that we got started with is still around. You'd think when it comes to VTubing that, you know, there's so many people who show up and disappear and come and go, that like the majority of people you interact with would, just disappear. That it'd be unavoidable. But for us, it's been the exact opposite. Most of the people that we got started with are still kicking it, still pushing it, still striving to this day. And that's pretty cool. I guess that we just chose some really cool folks to hang around with. Spaceman, you've got such great taste in contemporaries. Thank you, Spaceman. All right, we're gonna take a break, a brizake. Go get yourself some drankage. Sometimes you get lucky like it, sometimes you just get lucky like that. I think it's nice that everyone that we know, that we interact with, kind of inspires one another to keep working, keep going, keep trying new stuff. It's great. I always thought that, like, I'd have a real hard time when it all finally comes to an end. More so than I ever had with, like, online, like, MMO groups or RP groups or stuff like that. Because you just sort of assume, well, one of these days, it'll all be gone, these people will all be gone. But I know it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt when it comes to the people that we've been streaming with. Probably because you get to know them a little better, or you get to feel like you know them a little better. Spaceman getting sappy on a Monday. Go grab a drink. Go grab a snack. Go take a break. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. The Vector Spaceman show continues right after this. Are we adding? We're adding. There we go. Sounds good, boss. And if you're Ghost, or if you're sneaky and clever, then you get to chill for a couple minutes while I sip on some of my Ultra Fiesta Mango, which is going to keep me up for the next few hours. Super duper. Tastes like a Fiesta. What else did we expect? I'm just glancing over at the Twitch page. Seems like a lot of people have got stuff to say about V Shoujo news tonight. So the topic du jour, as it were. Oh hey, looks like we're back. The Vector Spaceman show returns. Welcome back, cadets. We're still just chit-chatting. We can't be stopped. We can't be limited. By golly, the moment that we have to actually play a video game again, or do some other sort of lame, run-of-the-mill, easy-peasy content, forget about it. It's the summer of Spaceman. We're just yapping. All day, every day. Maybe the secret was just chemical stimulants. Maybe the secret was just being over-caffeinated. Just let your mouth run, Spaceman. Let your mind flow. Get it all out there. Nice and loose, limbered up. God forbid we actually start drinking on stream or something like that. That's not something that Spaceman really does. Did you know that? With very rare exception. When we were living over in Japan, it was a more common thing. It was kind of a more cultural thing. You know? You go out with your boys, your bromodachis, or with your co-workers. Hit up the izakaya. Do a little nomikai. Absolutely. You get that cheap plum soju, or what have you. It tastes like juice, and before you know it, you're wandering the alleyways all silly and whatnot. Speaking of summer, this one has been really mild for me. I'm used to it being over 100 by now, but it was cold and sprinkling this morning. It was a little chilly today where we're at as well. It comes and it goes. Because then we'll get hit by a weekend and it's like, ugh, 30 plus. No thank you. Which, I don't know what that is in freedom units. But I can only presume it's also very sticky and gross. Who needs it? I'm starting to feel for those Europeans, though, that are always complaining. For whatever reason, they just never invested in air conditioning. They had the whole world in their hands. Just never learned how to blow a fan. I guess that's why they lost it all. 86. That's great trivia. I don't think I could ever get what the actual conversion is. I'm sure there's a very elaborate function that explains how you convert from one to the other, because I know at some point they actually line up. Like there is a crossover. I think somewhere in the negatives where it becomes the same value. Here's something I'll ask. Here's something I'll ask Ghost and all the other Americans that might be here or there. What's the point of Fahrenheit? Do you know off the top of your head? Because the last time somebody tried to explain it to me, they were like, I think it's based on just like how it feels, you know? Which didn't make any sense because it's like, what do you mean it's based on how it feels? That has to be based on something else. At least with Celsius, we're working with water. 0, freeze, 100, boil. That's science right there. Wish you used the metrics. I wish you used the metric system. We can get this whole thing sorted out. Listen, I'll cop to the fact that there's some utility to a base 12 measurement system when it comes to imperial units for like construction and stuff like that. That can be useful. I'm not gonna knock it. I don't hate the use of the imperial foot when it comes to certain applications. But for temperature, the Spaceman cannot abide. This is partially because we don't understand it in the slightest. I think I once heard that like Fahrenheit was supposed to be based on like what the human body could survive in, like from 0 to 100, but I don't know if that's true either. Because what the heck is 0 Fahrenheit to Celsius is negative 17 Celsius. I feel like you're not gonna do great in negative 17. Fraction sizes for tools seem like a very poor system. I think I just like the fact that it's an easy thing to divide. Like, you can divide a foot into halves, into thirds, into quarters, very easily. In a way that, like, a meter doesn't divide into thirds very well, because you end up with fractions. And also, a meter's kind of big. It's just kind of big. It's not human scale, you know? Oh, you know what else I've seen a lot of lately? And this ties back to the, oh, what a fascinating modern age we live in, where we can just experience horse games, you know, through exposure, vicariously. I've also been liking watching some of the Donkey Kong Bonanza stuff. Like, just what a great concept for a game. I am such a sucker. I am such a fan. I am such an unrepentant fanboy for when you take characters that are like established in a series and you give them little side adventures. So who would have thought, you know, we could have a game where like DK and Pauline get to go on their own little adventure. That's fun. That's cute. That's cool. Or anytime they give Luigi his own game, same sort of thing. It's like, yes, give me more of that. The game itself, I could like, take it or leave it. It looks fun enough. I just like the concept. I like the implication. And it's always good for some fan art. You know? Agreed, we agreed, we agree. Excellent. We're all classy people here at the station tonight. Speaking of classy people, we gotta continue to shout it out. Friday. So, Wednesday we're doing Corey's show. Friday, another special friend of the show, Rumble, beginning their streaming journey. Self-produced, independent, virtual streamer. Getting started in their own streaming experience. Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, live over on their channel. Spaceman's definitely going to be there. I'm going to be tuned in because I'm such a fan. And then Saturday, we're actually going to be participating in a game show run by Ava the Femboy. Not sure if it's actually going to be live or released afterwards, so don't hold me to that. But featuring other members of the Hive Core group, as it were, which is kind of like an agency. While we've been on the topic of VTuber agencies, Project Hive Core. See if I can pull up the website here. Maybe share that in the chat. There it is. Composed of a lot of familiar faces that we've seen on the channel in the past. In fact, you can even see Spaceman in some of the key art on this website. Which is not to suggest that we are super involved. but tangentially involved. But even I've had issues with it, like conceptually, as well. If we can continue ragging on the concept of the VTuber agency for the evening. You know, it's like, again, what is the purpose of stuff like this? Because at the moment, it's basically just a Discord group for VTubers. And do we need another Discord? I was ranting about that last week. That's why we don't have our own public channel for the Spaceman show. It's like, we have enough Discord servers. What do we need another one for? What are we gonna do? Unless we started doing community events and stuff like that, where we wanna shout stuff out and keep track. And with Hivecore, it's like, well, most of the members are people that we are already familiar with, and who are already familiar with one another to begin with. Like, there's a huge crossover with cast members from the Spaceman specials. So sometimes I just feel like, what are we doing? Are we just putting on airs? There's so many fly-by-night VTuber organizations and corporations and what have you. Not to suggest that, you know, Hivecore is that sort of thing, because it is run by a friend of the show, Dragon Durant. Old legless dragon. But he and I bump heads all the time about, you know, what are we doing here? What's the purpose? What's anyone getting out of this? What do we think Spaceman would benefit from most through working with a proper agency? I posed that question to some of the other streamers in the chat earlier. Now I'm thinking about it. The one thing that we've refused to do over the years is, like, delegate out artwork to anyone. For, like, background shots for the skits, like any sort of thing. We've just taken on all the work ourselves. That's not necessarily even something that, you know, we need a whole agency for or anything. That's just, hey, go contract some other artist to help you out with your backgrounds. That sort of thing. We're not great at community engagement, I will say that. I can't deny that. I'm sure we could benefit a lot more if we were more active on stuff like Reddit and TikTok and what have you. I've definitely seen it work for others. Used to only watch indie VTubers because I had no interest in corpos. This year I followed 3 of them, 2 of which a friend of mine was in a collab with. All 3 graduated. It's a matter of, yeah, staying power as well, right? I talked a little earlier about, you know, how do you avoid audience fatigue, and how do you avoid losing that special element of the streaming experience, which is being able to interact with the personality, with the talent, in a back and forth sort of way, rapidly, with attention, you know? Now, mind you, that's where the whole concept of, you know, parasocialism and, you know, friend simulators and things like that come in. And that's not to be ignored, because that can be an issue. And I've had that conversation with people before, which is like, what are we doing here? Like, if that's a real concern, then how do you justify, you know, enabling that sort of thing? If there's people who are, you know, socially, it would sound bad to say this, but like socially maladapted to the point where they need to find connection through, you know, streamers or virtual streamers, or, you know, they're projecting these feelings of friendship and community and maybe even more onto people that they're seeing on screen. Like, how do you justify perpetuating that? You can tell yourself, listen, there's always going to be people like that. You can't, you know, you can't be so righteous as to, you know, just stop doing what you like doing, because there's the risk of that sort of behavior. And I can see that. This is why I get called pretentious. As I'll think too much about stuff like that, I'll ignore all the money aspects of it. And then I make the others mad because, you know, they're just trying to make ends meet and what have you. Trying to do what they feel like they have to do. You know, it's rough. It's rough out here. I get that. It's getting hard out here for a virtual entertaining personality. That's for sure. It all comes back to, what's it mean to be a sellout anymore? But when you say, yeah, all three graduated, Ghost, yeah, where do they go off to? Do they go back to the indie sphere, where it's a little more personable? Or do they just take the money and run? You know, make a quick buck, sail off into the sunset, back to private industry, or maybe into, you know, broadcasting proper or something like that. Who knows? Be interesting to see, because I'm sure there are some people that we know that may someday be on the cusp of something like that, of having to decide, okay, do I take a big leap and go for some sort of corporate contract when it comes to streaming? Change up the personality? I don't know if we could do that. No clue, right? No clue. I think the only thing that would really benefit us is being able to like offload editing and engagement and stuff like that to some team. Somebody who's way better at that than we are. Because we don't pay any attention to like what makes a clippable moment, or what makes a good video, stuff like that. We're just over here writing jokes, skits, and specials. The kind of stuff we want to put out. Wish he was better at editing? Man, I wish I was better at editing too. Plus, we don't have, especially lately, now that we've just been doing, you know, chit-chatting streams and stuff like that. I feel like we don't really have a lot of moments which are worth editing into clips, you know what I mean? Time to start bringing back friends onto the show. Have some laughs. Add some gas to it. And you know what, Space Cadets? I think that's just about all we had to say tonight. I think we done gone over everything. Big shakeups at VShojo. Spaceman Summer. And of course, all our friends who are doing cool stuff this week. Like, I dread the day that we would even consider doing like a donathon or something like that. It just doesn't seem like it's so divorced from how we do streaming. It sounds bad to say, you know, that you've got streamers whose content comes out of their hands, you know? The artists, the performers. We're all self-produced here. Or, you know, Nova Swarm, same idea, all self-produced. Alpine, all self-produced. And then you've got streamers whose content comes out of their wallet, you know? Buy the model, buy, you know, commission a rigger. Pay for animations, pay for emotes, pay for editing, all that stuff. Very different way to approach. I'd be interested in seeing, I mean, of course it would be costly, but I would be interested in seeing somebody who has done it all themselves, trying to then like start from scratch, but this time you're just going to delegate, but you've got the eye for exactly what you want, exactly what you need. And now you've got all the extra time that you're not doing, you know, working on your own model, working on your own artwork, working on your own setup, that you can spend, you know, putting the necessary time into community engagement and stuff like that. I know someone who has, she makes her own 3D models and most of her assets and now is editing her own vids. Nice. And sorry, you're saying that they are now delegating more of that out? That's sort of what I was talking about. Like, if you took someone like, let's say, let's just grab one of the Nova Swarms. So somebody like Ellie. They said, Ellie, we're going to throw a bunch of money at you. You don't have to rig your own model anymore. You don't have to do your own artwork. You're just going to be the personality. Now Ellie knows exactly what she wants. She's got the experience of what she wants and what she needs to put together a good stream. And now you've got a bunch of extra time. You can focus on, you know, organizing collabs and engaging with the community and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier than somebody who starts with the exact opposite. Be like, all right, I started out with like a paid model, but at the same time, there are people like this who start out streaming with like a cheap paid model or something like that, and then transition into, all right, I'm gonna try to make my own thing. I'm gonna use this as a learning experience. But in my experience, at least, it's been, as soon as you start trying to make everything yourself, that's when it all gets bogged down. That's when you run out of time. It's like every artist I know that takes on commission work. Okay, we're gonna open up commissions, and we're gonna make a little dough, make a little dosh. But, now you got no time for your own work. It's that old time versus money conundrum. That's when the burnout sets in. Listen, I know some people who are going through that right now. Oh, artistry. Hopefully, all my streaming friends can avoid the how you say, what is it called? Something syndrome. Imposter syndrome. I've seen some people talk about that before. Worried that they don't know what to do with streaming. It's like, hey, it's a medium, right? You keep trying stuff, you keep experimenting, keep doing new things, find something that works for you. Yes, there are more experienced streamers out there, and yes, some of them have a lot more money to throw around. Imposter syndrome is rough, but I think that's an easier hurdle to get over. Like, I look at streamers like Alpine, or like Shindigs, or Taijiro, and I see aspects that I'm like, we could 100% do that sort of thing. That doesn't manifest in imposter syndrome in me, though. It manifests in, well, how can we make that work? For us, you know? Our own version of that sort of thing. I find that very motivating. I find that inspiring. But at the same time, I didn't come into VTubing wanting to be a VTuber. The VTuber, like VTubing as a, how you say, like an identity. So I'm not out here comparing myself to my idols, for lack of a better term. My, artistic heroes or whatever. These are contemporaries. Not much more than that. And sometimes they get to be your buds too. They get to be your friends, because you find out you all live in the same city and they're cool people. Because guess what? There's only 3 or 4 cities in Canada that matter. Ha ha. So if we've learned anything tonight, Space Cadets, it's that money and art is a tricky thing to mix. And if you're gonna try to be one of these corporations feasting off the backs of talent, of personality, then you can't just be misallocating $500,000. Because somebody's gonna notice. And then it's going to be very embarrassing for everyone involved. And then everybody that you worked with is going to jump ship. Expect that to happen over the next few days, I'm sure. Be like, you know what? We never liked these guys either. We're outie 5,000. I've seen some people suggest that, people like Iron Mouse, like Zentreya, like people who have jumped ship, that they form their own sort of group. I don't know if that's a great idea either, but I feel like smaller independent groups is probably more beneficial for streamers than, huge corporate organizations. Because I think we got to admit that this is not a medium, an industry, what would you call it? Whatever it is, it's not one that has like a huge following. in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's very much still a niche thing, VTubing. The amount of times that I've seen Corey do a live appearance at a convention, and every single time, at least one person's going to come up and say, hey, is that AI? You know, people don't fully get it sometimes. It's like a niche within a niche. Within a niche. You know? It's virtual streaming within a largely anime context. Let's not forget that we owe a lot to the anime-styled VTubers, sort of carrying the whole medium. That's when my imposter syndrome kicks in. Knowing good streamer chat boundaries are important. Not setting out to make friends with a streamer and break those boundaries and then getting 3 DMs from various ones wanting to talk about personal stuff going on in their life. Sorry, from the streamers? That's like the exact opposite experience that most people have, I think. How you managed to pull that, who knows? That's just trying to live up to your, you know, your principles. And they're throwing that all under the bus on you, Ghost. Yeah, no, I think what most people worry about is, well, most of the lady streamers that I know worry about is, yeah, some overzealous community members. Getting all up in the DMs. I'm kind of guilty of that as well. Except for me, it's, you know, writing jokes for people and having to remember that, yeah, they're not technically, you know, these people that we're writing the bits for. But gosh darn it, we need somebody to say the lines. Easy to forget sometimes that there's real people behind the screen. Even when you sometimes run into them out in the real world. It's a small world, and that happens. Very true, very true. Maybe it's just because you're such a good moderator, Ghost. Everybody wants to work with you. I still think the best thing I've seen come from like from VTubing in terms of like generating the support that you'd expect from an agency or something like that has been the groups. Super groups, little groups, you know, Nova Swarm, great example. You've got the designer, the artist, the live 2D rigger, all in one group. Great. Or duos like Sigrid and Bird. So good. So good. Having a dedicated co-host. So good. That's what I want for this show. The thing that's going to take the Vector Spaceman show to the next level is when we finally get a dedicated co-host. That's just really hard to get. It's not like I can just trust somebody from, you know, from the extended Vector Space fam to be on board for something like that. Because well, you literally have to onboard them in terms of how the whole thing works. It's like, you've been doing what for the past few years? Not many people know that this is our little hobby. That sounds fun. It would be very fun. I'd love to have somebody to riff with all the time. Because that's the thing. When we're talking, we're good. We're golden. Spaceman's on point. And when we can make little jokes and rib back and forth, that's peak. That's peak Spaceman right there. Bits. Mad jokes, son. Mad jokes. That's why we'll start bringing on folks for collabs and stuff again soon. It'd be nice to have them back on the show. Friends of the show. Folks like Dragon, folks like Meg, folks like Neff. And maybe even some new faces. Who knows? But one of these days, yeah, I'd love to introduce a proper character to the lineup, you know? I think if we were starting from scratch, we'd reimagine the whole Vector Spaceman and Friends concept. To be more static. To have more proper characters. Like what I've seen Alpine do lately. With his big cast of claymation characters. They've done a really good job making this whole little world. It's very, very cool. Not that we need to, obviously. Not like anyone is not already super familiar. But we do a little shout out for Alpine Showtime, why not? Too cool for school. Alright, you guys. We are cresting the 2-hour mark tonight, so we'll probably call it here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. You know we love a little rambly times. Nice, Eon. Glad you've been listening. Glad you've been vibing with us. What'd you grab for dinner? What'd you grab for foods? I hope it was something good. Ghost, thanks for being here as always. Now, who do we want to go say hi to tonight? I know where we're going to go. We're going to go see somebody who's jibber-jabbering about the same thing we've been talking about. We're going to go see Sane Cisco. Whipped up some soup because it's fast and lazy. You're right on both counts. You're absolutely correct about that. Now, Sane, we got to meet doing little collabs as well. Sane's way too cool for school as well. And she's talking about Iron Mouse leaving V Shoujo and unboxing some HoloLive booster packs. Sane is cool. Sane, like, punches way above her belt in terms of, like, who she interacts with. Which is very admirable. Like, I'm always surprised by who Sane knows. Oh, they interviewed some friends of yours? Nice. That's probably a big reason for it, is Sane's just so involved with the community. Same as like Lydia, doing VTuber news and stuff like that. You just get to interact with so many different people. So let's set up that raid here. San Cisco. Everybody be on your best behavior, of course. Make sure you say nice things. Let her know that Vector Spaceman sent you. And as for now, Space Cadets, until next time, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight, wherever and whenever you are. You can join us again next week. Almost same time, almost same place. Live at 8 p.m. Eastern, probably Tuesday, right here at Harbor Station. We'll catch you on the other side, Space Cadets. Until then, of course, no matter what life throws your way, good luck and Godspeed. This is Vector Spaceman, signing off. Stick around for that raid. We're going to go say hi to Sane, who's super cool, who's a friend of the show. And we'll catch all you guys real soon. Bye-bye. Have a great night. So long, Space Cadets. Bye.